Once you have made your selections of the photos that you want to edit, the next step is to go into the develop module and start editing them. So there's a couple of ways to do that. First, you can just click on the develop module tab up here, or you can hit the D key, which gets you there with a shortcut. So I'm going to go ahead and click D, and now we're in the develop module. And you notice also right at the top that develop is now highlighted rather than library. So in the develop module, you have your develop sliders on the right side, and you have any kind of presets that you want to use on the left. Now by default, you're going to get all these Lightroom presets when Lightroom is installed. These additional presets that I have here are ones that I've added from various sources and ones that I've created myself. So the first thing I want to go through is how to actually create a preset. Presets are essentially, time savers that will help you make changes to your photos quickly without having to use the sliders and play around with them, which can obviously take more time, especially when you have a lot of photos to go through. So let's say on most photos I want to sharpen them and adjust the contrast. So let's say I want to make a preset for that. So the first step is to actually make the changes that you want to do. And so in this case, let's say I'm going to crank up the contrast a little bit. I like to deepen the blacks a little bit to get a little more contrast, and then I like to sharpen it to about 55 or so. I like to change the mask. Now the mask is, if you hold down the Alt key or the Option key, you can then slide it and it will kind of give you an indication as to what it's actually sharpening. So in this case, the white edges are what I'm trying to sharpen. So I like to crank it up a little bit. I only want to sharpen the edges of the photo, not the open spaces. And let's say I want to add a little bit of noise reduction, so I'll slide that up to just a small amount. This camera doesn't have a lot of noise even at 1600. And I want to add a vignette to darken the edges. So let's darken those edges. So now let's say those are the settings that I am going to be changing a lot on most of my photos. Maybe that's just my style. So I want to save all those settings as a preset. The way to do that is to come over to the presets panel over here, click the plus, and I'm going to title the preset Standard Develop Settings for me. Obviously you can name it whatever you want. And then I'm going to choose the folder I'm going to save it in. In this case I'm going to save it in user presets because those are my particular presets. And the key here is to uncheck everything at once and then only check those settings that you want to change for this particular preset. So the settings that I changed were the contrast, the black clipping, the sharpening, the noise reduction, and the post-crop vignetting. Those were the only changes I believe I changed. So when I save this and create this preset, only those settings are actually going to be affected when I apply the preset to another photo. So I'm going to go ahead and click create here, and you'll see it added my preset down here. So the next step is, let's see how that preset works on the next photo. So I'm going to go to the next photo in the film strip here, and I just go ahead and click that preset, and it applies all those settings. So you'll notice that it added my contrast, changed my blacks, it automatically changed my sharpening and the noise reduction, and it turned on the post-crop vignetting. So that's how you create a preset in the develop module.